Power is seamless. It flows endlessly, but from different sources. In democracies like India and America, power comes from the law. But in communist regimes like China, power rests in people. It flows from a supreme leader. And history tells us these leaders are ambitious and ruthless. Look at what China's founding father, Mao Zedong, said. Political power grows out of the barrel of a gun. 100 years and nothing has changed. Xi Jinping too believes in raw military power. He wants to eclipse all leaders of China, including Mao. And he doesn't see himself as a peasant leader. The new Helmsman, as he's called, is a lot more savvy. At least that's what he wants the world to believe. That's what his propaganda factory feeds the world. Xi Jinping can critique Tolstoy's War and Peace, and he can also appreciate ancient Chinese literature. You'd think that's a lot of spare time for a man leading 1.4 billion people, but who will question the leader in China? At the end of the day, though, people care only about two things: food on the table and money in their pockets. And China is running out of both. This birthday party, with all its balloons and fighter jets, cannot hide that story from the world. Here's what Xi Jinping is aiming for: total control. He is the Communist Party. The Politburo is his own cabal. The PLA dances to his command. But how did he become so powerful? Part of it is just pretense. You see, in communist regimes, power is like a game of musical chairs. It doesn't matter if people support you. What counts is being in the right place at the right time. Popularity comes later, if it comes at all. And Xi Jinping is the perfect example of this, because his record is nothing exemplary. We'll show you some numbers. Xi Jinping became president in the year 2013. This is China's GDP growth since then. Look at that curve. It was 7.77% in 2013. By 2020, 2.27%. And that is bad news, because every autocrat wants two things: a strong economy so that no one complains, and a nationalist population that will ignore abuses. Now, Xi Jinping's economy, we can tell you, is failing on many fronts. Number one is the structure. China is a photocopier, not a factory. Think about it. Can you name one premium Chinese automaker? Or one premium Chinese designer? Chances are you can't. And that's a problem for China, because during recession, only one thing will help companies survive, and that's brand and heritage. China has neither. Problem number two, debt. Yes, even Shakespeare's Shylock has loans to pay. China's overall debt was 270% of the GDP in 2020. Most of it is owned by state financial institutions, the engines of China's growth. What's Beijing doing to fix this? It is piling debt on debt. So banks are crumbling. The notorious Chinese checkbook is running out of pages. Problem number three, the world is turning away. Foreign investment is drying up. For years, China was the golden child of investors, dollars pumped in, building ghost cities and highways to nowhere. But take a look at the recent figures. In 2013, foreign investment made up 3.71% of the GDP. By 2019, 1%. That's the allure of Xi Jinping for you. The bottom line is this: China is not an economic unicorn anymore. The so-called hybrid communism is failing, and with that, the trust in Xi Jinping and his minions. And this is a dangerous trend in autocratic regimes. When people run out of money, they look at the society, and what do they see? An absolute lack of freedoms. The China you see on CGTN or on Global Times is not the real China. In the real China, every movement is monitored, every word is processed. In China, freedom is not a right. And in some places, challenges are emerging. So what does the government do? It cracks down with force. Do you know that China's internal security budget is bigger than its military budget? There are millions in the People's Armed Police to control protests. The government calls it stability maintenance. And yet China's cities are perfect breeding grounds for revolution. They're congested dust bowls. Records say China's middle class is 400 million strong. That's bigger than America's entire population, 400 million. By 2030, China's middle class is expected to touch 900 million. Imagine 900 million people with aspirations and dreams, 900 million people whose freedoms have been curbed. It's almost poetic. The so-called Workers' Party is the nightmare for those same workers. And now that party wants them to have children, not 1 or 2, but 3. China is running out of people, and it's running out fast. By 2050, 33% of the people will be over 60 years of age in China. China is turning into an aging country, running out of workers and soldiers. To escape this party prison, many Chinese citizens are turning to social media, TikTok, Weibo, and others. This digital world offers a lot of freedom, I dare say even dissent. So what does China do? Crack down again, this time on tech giants, dismantle the likes of Alibaba and Tencent, slap them with massive fines, put a leash on celebrity CEOs like Jack Ma. The Communist Party thinks it has succeeded. In reality, it has killed its golden goose. This is the reality of Xi Jinping's China, an economic power on the decline, a civil society clamoring for freedoms. How long can Xi Jinping hold on to this? What has a century of communist revolution created? An unequal society, a series of autocratic rulers, and an economy that defies every Marxist theory. Xi Jinping believes that he will decide the fate of China, and he is right. But fate is not always a happily ever after. Sometimes it is the end of an era. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.